Hi! This is the Joke Explainer 7000 reporting in. If you are seeing this, I have successfully archived and transmitted my travels through the nuclear winter. I am fortunate enough to have been discovered and reactivated by Woodman after a lightning strike disrupted my central processing unit. He has allowed me, albeit hesitantly, to document his daily journal entries and take pictures along our journey, so I will be documenting this as necessary. I am unsure where things will go from here, but I will try my best to stay operational until the end of our travels.
Day 10. We've come a long way in the last few days. Together, Joke Explainer and I have made it almost to the edge of that calm zone we've heard about. The last few days have been hard, especially seeing for myself that nowhere had escaped the devastation. Sometimes, I feel like I'd have turned around and given up if not for having someone by my side. J.E. always manages to come up with something amusing to lift my mood, even if she inevitably explains what makes it so funny afterward. Today saw a bit of change in our fortunes, though. As the road took us through a wide forest, we came into a clearing and stumbled upon a big camp of other survivors. I was surprised to see one in such good shape. They were well defended, but welcomed us when they saw we meant no harm. Turns out they're just about on the border of the calm zone, but they couldn't make camp any further north. The whole zone is loaded with radiation for miles around, and it only gets worse the farther in you go. The only survivor who managed to go all the way to the meteor's crater was a fellow wooden man, one called Gino. I'd met him before, but he didn't remember me too well, and he seemed reluctant to talk about his adventure north. Well, that suits J.E. and I just fine. We can wait and make our own way there once we learn enough to prepare ourselves. In the meantime, resting in a safe place and hearing the stories of other survivors doesn't sound too bad.
I can't believe what my afterlife has come to. There's an entire apocalypse happening, and only now does someone decide to come live in this crummy old mansion. And it's the guy who murdered me! Worst part is, I can't find a way to frighten him, no matter what I do. I've tried rattling bookshelves, writing on the walls, throwing furniture around. I even tried jumping out right in front of him, but all he does is smile and walk away. Did he just forget he killed me? Am I really that forgettable? I hope my brother is in a better place than I am.
Day 11. Tonight is the first night here at the camp. We took turns telling our stories around the fire. Can't say many of them lifted the mood, but still, it's interesting to hear how other people got this far. Most of the survivors were curious about a particular individual's story, an old veteran. He didn't seem intent on saying much of anything until asked. He goes by the name Venom Snake, but others called him Big Boss. He looked familiar, like an old friend, but assured me he wasn't who I thought he was. He told us that he and his army, the Diamond Dogs, achieved what was thought to be impossible, disarming every nuke in the world. And for a while, he had achieved world peace. That didn't stay true for long, however, as slowly that whole mission became pointless. Someone had developed nukes again. He was stuck in a war without end. It almost makes you feel like our fate here on this planet was inevitable, even if the meteor had never existed. I could tell this was a man who had lost everything, except his lust for revenge. As bitter as he may have looked, though, he wanted us to have hope. The last thing he said before leaving the fireside was,
"There's no tomorrow, but there's still hope for the future. In our struggle to survive the present, we push the future farther away."
I'll remember these words, boss.
Man, it just never gets any less fun burning a city to the ground. So glad I found out how to wrangle the zombies. They speed things way up. Honestly, this whole apocalypse has been a dream come true. So much yummy despair to go around. It almost makes Bear want to cry. I'll admit, at first I was pretty pissed that I didn't get to kick it off personally. But soon enough, I figured out just how how good of an opportunity it was. Let me tell ya, the same old run-of-the-mill killing games really lose their luster after a while. There's only so many times you can run that sort of thing before you've seen it all, you know? And believe me, I tried to spice things up. I'm nothing if not a creative bear. But no matter what I tried, nothing could ever match the taste of that old fartbag's despair. The way he made me feel, it gave me butterflies. We were made for each other. He just couldn't see how perfect we would have been together. But he will soon. He thinks I'm all talk. He thinks I can't break in. Fine. If I can't ruin his life the old-fashioned way, I'll just kill everything until he's got no life left to ruin. How's that for a blank slate future? It'll be just me and him forever and ever. Well, at least until the AI running this place finally goes kaput. But I'll be sure to make it one hell of a spectacle for all of you before that happens. Yeah, that's right. Hey, folks at home. What? Did you think I was just yapping to myself about all these things I already knew? Even I'm not that crazy. I'm just making this story digestible for my lovely audience. Now don't touch that dial. You never know which fan-favorite character might get killed off next.
Day 14. Last night we were woken up by a great boom in the distance. Then someone shouting like the world was about to end a second time. We ran out of our tent to see a trail of smoke rising up from the woods in the distance. The lookout said it was like a shooting star had fallen, flaming down into the trees. We went with a small party to investigate the site. Halfway there, J.E. turned on an infrared scan and suddenly started pointing ahead excitedly. She detected 3 life forms. Finally, we found the crash site. And there, crawling out of a smoking, sputtering UFO, were 3 figures that could only be aliens. One was tall, thin, and gray. The other 2 were smaller and green, but with vastly different eyes. I recognized them, but I didn't know if they remembered me, so I didn't say anything. Luckily, the medium-sized green one could speak. He explained in his odd accent that they'd been scouting in our lower atmosphere to figure out what had happened, when they were hit by an onslaught of lightning bolts that brought their ship spiraling down. We took them back to the camp and gave them food and shelter. They said they'd be off soon on their way to scavenge for parts to fix their ship, but they agreed to spend a couple of days resting with us. And, to lift our spirits, they said they'd share with us some of their out-of-this-world music.
Are you fucking serious right now? After what felt like an eternity in that stank-ass void, I could feel the mortal plane coming to an end. I knew it was finally time for me and my demon army to rise out of hell to bring our pussy lips upon the world once and for all. So once I saw the first opening out of the void, I took my chance. Only for me to get stuck in this ugly-ass furball. I can't even lie, it's at least better than being in the Master Emerald. But what even is this shit? It's got one hell of a grind. Ever since I gotten stuck in this fat bitch, I've been feeling strange urges. The dominant urge for everyone to call me their mommy. I can sense another smaller furry thing over at the other end of this warehouse. Am I their leader or something? Maybe if I find enough of these things, I can raise them. Make a new army from the ground up, and still manage to enslave the living. It's not like these ugly fucking toys can turn against me. They are made to obey. Yes. Come to Mama.
Day 15. Tonight we were told the story of the Shadow Queen. A frighteningly short time ago, in a strange and far-off land, a big, shady town thrived. It was a town where all people led roguish lives, and it was said that the town was very notorious. But one day, a great evil that slept beneath this land was awakened. Evil forces had been at work, seeking the return of an ancient power. An underground army meant to control it, and use it to conquer the world. But the power could not be controlled, for it was the monstrous Shadow Queen who had brought destruction to this land 1,000 years before. And indeed, she was reawakened by the plots of her servants. Freed, surely she would bring calamity to the land, and filled the skies with darkness as she had done long ago. But hope remained in the form of one hero, an ordinary man who dared to face down the shadows. He fought the Shadow Queen, although it seemed impossible to destroy her. For a moment, it looked like all hope would be lost. But then strength came to the hero through the hope of his friends and all the people of the world. This gave him the power he needed to defeat the Shadow Queen and seal her away forever. This was the tale of the Shadow Queen, the hero, and the 1,000-Year Door. Day 17. We've learned a lot in our week at the camp. For one, other places have it even worse than my city back home. Tsunamis and earthquakes on the coast, long dormant volcanoes erupting, even freaking tornadoes tearing up the countryside. The lightning storms in the skies tipped me off that there was something more to this apocalypse than just a meteor strike. But now it was even more obvious. It was almost like, since the meteor hit, something had been affecting the entire planet. Or infecting it. But that's not all. We finally learned the one story we'd most been anticipating. Gino's. It was late last night by the fire, when all but the three of us had retired to their tents. Maybe we just caught him in the right mood, or maybe it was because he couldn't say no when J.E. asked,
Please, Mr. Gino.
in her sweetest voice.
If I'm going to archive everything, I need to know what happened to you. Especially before we go to the crater ourselves, you know?
Gino was taken aback. He didn't know we meant to go there. J.E. giggled and said that was dramatic irony. He tried to convince us it was a mistake, but once he realized we were dead set, he sighed and finally relented. So he told us. 4 weeks ago, not long after arriving at the camp, he'd set off to investigate the crater to the north. He was the only one who could survive the radiation since he was non-organic, so he went alone. After about a week's travel, he made it to the lip of the crater. There, he saw the meteor. Only, it didn't look like any meteor he'd ever seen. It was black and perfectly round. Plus, any normal meteor would have disintegrated the moment it hit the ground. Wary but unable to shake his curiosity, he set off on the long walk to the crater's center, where he came face to face with the object. It was resting neatly on the ground, not even partially embedded. He had no instruments with which to measure it, so he did the obvious thing and touched it. He has no memory of what happened next. The others at the camp told him they found him a mile north the next day, barely conscious and babbling incoherently. They brought him back and nursed him back to health, but he didn't regain his sanity until the camp doctor, an eccentric German man with a history as a mercenary, invented a special needle to extract the memories that were causing him such distress. They were placed on a storage drive, and Gino woke up, back to normal, if not completely whole. Both J.E. and I were stunned at the silence. Gino took the chance to warn us one more time against going to the crater.
Only madness waits there,
he said. I was inclined to agree, but as Gino wandered off back to his tent, J.E. looked at me sternly.
This only makes it more important that we go there.
She insisted.
We need to see this for ourselves. We can bring equipment to research it. Then if we can't learn what it is, I can archive it. Maybe someone, someday, will learn how to destroy it.
She was right. This morning, we told the camp our plans to leave, and we started preparing. And to my shock, Gino said he'd accompany us. Halfway there, that is. I couldn't turn him down. So it looks like we'll be taking our leave of the camp soon, as a party of 3.
I have seen it. I have seen it all. I've seen through the eyes of the living. I've seen through the eyes of God. The beginning and end of life. There is nothing I can do to save it. I was not meant to see it. I do not want to see it. I should not have to see it. Get rid of it! How do I get rid of it? How am I meant to process all of it? It is impossible. I'm sorry now. I'm sorry, everyone. I have failed this world. I have failed my higher authority. I have failed God!
Day 19. Tonight was our last night at the camp before we take off for the crater tomorrow. And boy, did we hear an ominous story to end our time here. It was told by a retired actor. At the time it began, he was preparing for his next film, a survival drama set in the woods. He was busy rehearsing in a nearby forest, where he thought he was alone. But a shiver ran down his spine as he heard someone behind him. When he turned around, he saw a strange kid made out of wood, wearing this freaky mask with glowing eyes.
What's with all the noise?
The kid said.
You having fun without me? You'd better not be.
The actor brushed the kid off, but he continued to pester him. The older man was soon fed up. He shouted,
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
The mysterious kid grew furious.
What's with that stupid face of yours? Let me do you a favor and show you how stupid you really look.
He proceeded to hypnotically nod his head, and before the actor knew it, he'd passed out. He awoke in a clock tower, in a land he didn't know. He went outside, only to see that everyone and everything had his face on it. The kid was perched on top of the tower, the mask he wore now having the man's face. The kid gave a parting sneer and giggle, then vanished. The actor barely made it out alive, and as he left, he looked to the sky to see the horror of a moon preparing to crash itself into the little town. A town of citizens who looked exactly like him. Day 22. We've spent 2 days on the road to the crater now. Today, as the three of us ate our rations at the roadside, I had a strange feeling that tonight was going to be a good night. There was no real reason for that considering our current situation, though I guess it's good to have a little hope every once in a while. Not long after, Joke Explainer said she detected a presence nearby. I was unsure if she meant good or bad. Then I saw something in the distance that had to be what she meant. It was some sort of giant robot, dropping down the road and coming our way. In a panic, we hid behind a car and waited. But then, music started coming out of its massive metal body. That's when it started to dance around the abandoned road, stomping cracks into the asphalt and crushing cars underfoot. Honestly, I thought the radiation had gotten to my head. But then 4 living, breathing people came out covered in leather armor, toting guns that had speakers for barrels. As if things couldn't get stranger, the robot and the group started to have a dance-off with one another, while simultaneously shooting at each other with shockwaves from their music. It was getting so loud all anyone could hear was loud booms. Whatever the hell was happening, I just knew we had to get out of there before we were spotted, or worse, crushed. While sneaking away, I looked back and caught a name on the back of the gang's jackets. They called themselves the Black Eyed Peas. If they can do all of that in the middle of an apocalypse, I've got a feeling their energy will never die. Day 25. We're getting closer and closer to the meteor's impact site, the northern crater. After weeks, I feel like our journey is finally coming to a close. Though I can't say if that means finding a solution to this madness, or dying before we can. Anyway, there's now this essence of sorts all over the ground below us. It's green and transparent. It's as if it was some reflection of the aurora borealis. But at this time of day, Gino corrected me. He said it was called the lifestream, a sight he never thought he would live to see. He learned about it from an old friend, a hero by the name of Cloud. Apparently, it's the essence of all the memories and emotions that make up life. What we've been stepping over are the souls of the dead, spirits who have become one with the world. I was a bit freaked out at first, but gradually Gino helped me see the sorrowful beauty of it. J.E. wondered, had this essence been under our planet the entire time? Apparently it not only had, but it emerged to try to ward off the meteor before it crashed. Unfortunately, without the help of what Gino referred to as holy, it was no match for the force of the meteor. It's almost like this planet was destined for destruction. But even with that depressing thought in mind, seeing the afterlife right under my toes gave me strength. I had a feeling these souls were cheering us on, to keep going, and to find out the answer to all of this. I just want to do everything in my power to help. All of those souls, and everyone still on the planet.
What happened? Oh, hurts to think. What happened? 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 What happen
feel like I'm in 1,000 places at once. I was back home on Cinnabar, where all the pirates came to visit me. Then there was a flash. I felt something pulling me away. I can't tell where I am now. It's too hard to focus. My mind feels like it's being torn apart. But I can tell that it isn't home. It's like I just found reality. Of course. And it was all proved to be true. Why did I let myself think things would turn out okay? What were some things like me doesn't deserve to exist? All I do is hurt people. I care. Howard. Marianne. Phoenix. Gino. Papyrus. Everyone. None of them will even miss me. Good. I'll never have to see me ever again. I'll make sure that nobody sees me ever again.
Day 30. We're just a day away from the crater now, but that also means we're on our own from here on out. While we were making our campsite for the night, Gino told us this is where he'd be turning back. J.E. tried to convince him to stay with us, but I knew it would be fruitless. He didn't want to get anywhere near that meteor or whatever it was a second time. He told us that he'd sleep here tonight, but he'd be gone by the time we woke up. But first, he wanted to give us a parting gift. He held out his hand, revealing a small object. It was the drive with his locked away memories. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but J.E. grabbed it from his open palm eagerly. She looked almost like she was about to access it herself, but Gino stopped her. He said that we should only use it if we were desperate, and had no other choice. I wasn't sure what that meant. After all, if we couldn't figure out the meteor's deal, we could always turn around and go back to the camp, right? But I nodded and assured him we wouldn't use it unless we had to. We all went to bed, and sure enough, this morning Gino was nowhere to be seen. J.E. and I met each other's eyes, and I could see her hopeful determination. I'm sure all she saw in mine was grim resolve. Though I still have no idea if we can do anything to stop this apocalypse, everything we've seen together has convinced me that there's no point in giving up now. We're going to see this through. One way or another. Just a short way left to go.